Why I am suing Purdue Pharma for $10 trillion. A couple of months ago, I got a legal notice from Prime Clerk LLC, in re Purdue Pharma LO et al. This notice requested those with claims against Purdue Pharma, who I think of and often refer to as Perdition Pharma, to state the settlement amount they feel is due them as a result of damage they have suffered as a result of actions and inactions by that pharmaceutical giant, the makers and promoters and pushers of their flavor of oxycodone, which they named Oxycontin. Oxycontin has killed hundreds of thousands of people. One of them was my son, Kelvin Caleb Mordecai Shannon. Kelvin died at the age of 28 on March 17, 2012 in New Berlin, Wisconsin. A moderate amount of Oxycontin, coupled with a moderate amount of alcohol, culminated in his death. There's a lot of blame to go around for Kelvin's death. He is partially to blame himself, it's true. After all, nobody forced him into simultaneously ingesting those substances, right? Nevertheless, I place a large portion of the blame on Purdue Pharma. They knew how addictive their drug was and still aggressively promoted a widespread adoption of its usage without doing anything to address the problems it was causing. In fact, PP actually saw to it that their product was as addictive as possible. I'm not going to write a 50-page piece here. One reason for that is that a good-sized body of exposés against this company and its heartless and heedless practices has already been written. Early this year, Gerald Posner's book Pharma, Greed, Lies, and the Poisoning of America was published. A little over a year ago, there was Dope Sick, Dealers, Doctors, and the Drug Company That Addicted America by Beth Macy, which has become a national bestseller. Before that, there was Painkiller, An Empire of Deceit and the Origin of America's Opioid Epidemic by Barry Meyer, which is an update of his 2003 book of the same title, albeit different subtitle. There are others too, such as National Book Critics Circle Award winner Dreamland, The True Tale of America's Opiate Epidemic by Sam Quinones, 2016, and Death in Mud Lick, A Coal Country Fight Against the Drug Companies That Delivered the Opioid Epidemic by Eric Iyer, which was published on March 31st, 2020, on the 8th anniversary of Kelvin's funeral. And those are just the first half dozen you will find on Amazon when you search the books category for Oxycontin Purdue Pharma. So it is plain that investigative journalists have been exposing Purdue Pharma and their highly irresponsible, to say the least, promotion and pushing of their powerfully addictive and deadly drug, Oxycontin. 2003, did you notice that was when the first edition of Barry Meyer's scathing book Painkiller came out? Almost a score of years ago. Almost 2 decades have gone by since Mr. Meyer's outrage over the unconscionable and indefensible predatory practices of these inhuman fiends caused him to raise a clamor and call to action against them. Why were so many years and lives wasted before action against this manufacturer of mayhem and pitiless purveyor of pain and death and heartbreak was finally taken? It seems that Purdue Pharma has finally been reined in now, after amassing tens of billions of dollars and being culpable for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people. And the deaths of those hundreds of thousands is just the easily quantifiable part of the damage done. Who can estimate the degree and amount of anguish and extreme agony of the millions of so-called survivors, the parents and grandparents, spouses, children, siblings, and close friends of those who died as a result of the rabid greed and fierce carelessness of this corporation. So, back to the implied question raised in the title of this piece. Why am I suing Purdue Pharma for $10 trillion? That is the amount I submitted on answering the legal firm's question as to what I calculated my monetary claim against Purdue Pharma should be. A few things are self-evident, or should be, namely, 1, I know I will never get $10 trillion from Purdue Pharma. After all, they were only fined $8 billion, and they are filing for bankruptcy, so they will probably find a way to finagle their way out of even paying that amount. 2, even if I did receive $10 trillion, that wouldn't bring Kelvin back to me, so what good would it do me? Therefore, since I know I will not be receiving $10 trillion or anything remotely close to that figure, why did I ask for that amount? Answer: I was sending a message. I deliberately made my claim an outrageously excessive amount, more than even those deep pockets greedy guts have, similar to the outrageously excessive amount of anguish and agony I and my family and hundreds of thousands of others' families have had to experience as a result of their immoral, or at best amoral, course of action and inaction, their sins of commission as well as their sins of omission. Even if I were to receive a large amount of money from Purdue Pharma at some point, what I would want to do is this: rip it to bits before their eyes and throw it in their faces. I don't want their money. There's no amount of money they could give me that could compensate me for what they have taken away from me, from us, my family, and from so many others. I won't make deals with terrorists. That's what they are. I consider them to be mass murderers. Mass manslaughterers, their apologists might say. But what I have written, I have written. Although I don't want their money myself, I also don't want them to be able to retain their ill-gotten gains either. I would be happy to know that they lost everything and were reduced to living under bridges, forced to scrounge and beg for a crusty piece of bread when... Well, enough of that. As I said, that's what I would want to do. Here's what I would really do. Donate the money to whichever organizations are doing the most to not only alleviate the suffering of the victims, those addicted who are still living, but also alleviate the suffering of the families of those who lost loved ones. Especially, though, would I favor those who are working at ways to prevent such a tragedy from ever taking place again. Money has power. That's all that corporations like Purdue Pharma understand or care about: money. They've got money in their eyes, money in their hearts, and they'll still be clutching whatever they can get of it in their dirty little mitts when they die. They killed people for profit. They knew they were doing it. It didn't bother them a bit, as long as the revenue kept flowing in. So that's how to hurt them, to hit them where they live, divest them of as much of their pirated booty as is legally possible. Hoyt Axton's mother co-wrote Heartbreak Hotel, a song made famous by Elvis Presley. Hoyt himself later wrote several well-known songs, including Joy to the World, which was a big hit for the band Three Dog Night. Axton also wrote in 1968 a song he entitled The Pusher, which was covered later by Steppenwolf and others. Among the lyrics of that song are the following: But the pusher don't care if you live or if you die. But the pusher is a monster. Good God, he's not a natural man. The dealer for a nickel, Lord, he'll sell you lots of sweet dreams. But the pusher will ruin your body. Well, Lord, if I were the president of this land, I'd declare total war on the pusher man. I'd cut him if he stands, and I'd shoot him if he'd run, and I'd kill him with my Bible and my razor and my gun. God damn the pusher. God damn the pusher. I said God damn the pusher, man. Strong words, yes. To damn means to vigorously condemn to punishment. Purdue Pharma, Perdition Pharma, or Pusher Pharma, however you want to refer to them, certainly deserves whatever damning they get from any corner of the universe. My son Kelvin has been described as a beautiful man. It was also said of him by many that he didn't have a mean bone in his body. Perhaps you perceive that the same cannot be said about me. All bets are off if I ever find myself in the same room or lobby or elevator with any of the decision makers at Purdue Pharma.